All right, welcome aboard. Consider this your official first day briefing. We're going to get you up to speed on your new company, Ressett, and exactly what your role is here. You ready to jump in? Okay, and this right here, this quote from the CIMA workbook, honestly, it's the key to the whole thing. See, the exam isn't really about memorizing stuff from a textbook. It's a simulation, right? It's all about solving problems like you would in a real workplace. And that's exactly what we're doing here today. We're simulating your first day on the job. Okay, so let's make this official. From right now, you are Ressett's new financial manager. Your whole mission is to get inside this business, find the challenges, and help us make smarter decisions. So, let's get you briefed. All right, first things first, let's cover the absolute basics. Who is Ressett? And, where do you fit into the whole picture? So, this is what we do at our core. We're based in a country called Lamland, and our business model is actually pretty simple, but it's super effective. We buy PCs and all the related gear in bulk. Think of leftover stock from big companies or used computers from organizations that are upgrading. And then we resell them. It's a really sustainable model, and your job is to make sure it stays a really profitable one. And here's where you come in. As the financial manager, you're a really key player on the team. You'll be reporting directly to James Tan. He's the senior financial manager, and our whole department is headed up by the finance director, Hazel Monroe. So James and Hazel, these are the names you're going to be working with day in and day out, so definitely keep them in mind. Okay, so you know who you are and who you're working with. Now let's kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the market we're playing in and, how we actually make money. This right here, this basically maps out our entire operation from start to finish. It all kicks off with our buying team, who go out and source all the inventory. Then it goes to our inventory team. These guys are crucial. They check every single item, wipe the data, grade it, refurbish it, the whole shebang. And finally, our sales team gets it listed on the website and handles all the customer support. Every single one of these steps has its own costs and creates value, and you're going to need to understand how they all tick together. So you might be asking, why would someone buy from us instead of just hopping on some online marketplace? Well, it really boils down to just one word: trust, right? Unlike those peer-to-peer sales where you don't know what you're getting, every single product that leaves our warehouse has been professionally checked, graded, and it comes with a guarantee. We're selling peace of mind. And honestly, that is our biggest competitive advantage. Okay, now for the fun part, at least for a financial manager. This is your turf, the numbers. Let's take a look at our financial performance and see how we stack up against our main rival, a company called FixUp. Now this table, this tells a really fascinating story. Just look at our operating profit margin and our return on capital employed. We are way more efficient and more profitable than FixUp. But, and this is a big but, look at that revenue growth. They are growing 3 times faster than we are. And this right here, this creates the central strategic problem for our company. Are we sacrificing market share just to stay profitable? This is the key tension you're going to have to deal with. And this chart really just hammers that point home. I mean, look at that gap in growth. It's the single biggest threat we're facing. And your job is going to be to figure out how we close this gap without killing the profitability that makes us so strong in the first place. It's a really tough balancing act. Okay, so with all that in mind, how does this fit into our overall strategy? Let's break it all down with a quick SWOT analysis. Our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Let's start with our strengths, because they're the foundation of everything we do. We've been in this game for almost 40 years, so we're a well-established, profitable market leader. And our business model, it's not just good for the bank account, it's also sustainable. This is basically the fortress we're defending. But, of course, we've got some weaknesses we need to be real about. The market here in Lamland is pretty much maxed out, which helps explain that slow growth number we just stared at. We're also really dependent on our buying team's ability to find good quality computers. And because we're online only, we're totally missing out on anyone who prefers to walk into a physical store. All right, now for the exciting stuff, the opportunities. To solve that growth problem, we could start looking beyond just PCs. I mean, think about it, smartphones, gaming consoles. Or we could look beyond Lamland entirely and start expanding overseas. These are the kinds of big strategic moves you'll be helping us evaluate. And finally, we got to talk about the threats. What happens if the big PC manufacturers really ramp up their own refurbishment programs? What if there's a big economic downturn and people stop spending money? Or what if a competitor, maybe even FixUp, decides they want to try and buy us? We have to be ready for all of these outside pressures. Okay, So let's pull all of this together. This last section is all about your specific job here. We can really frame your responsibilities around 5 core missions that you'll be taking the lead on as our new financial manager. So these 5 areas, which you'll recognize right from the CIMA blueprint, are basically the pillars of your new role. You'll be evaluating new opportunities, you'll be implementing decisions from the top, you'll manage performance and costs, you'll measure that performance, and you'll manage all the key stakeholders. Let's look at a real-world example for each one. First up, evaluating opportunities. So a scenario could pop up where one of our competitors is for sale, and buying them would make us an official reseller for a huge manufacturer. You'd be the one to run the numbers, weigh the risks, and go to the board with a recommendation on whether this is a smart way to add value. Okay, next up, implementation. So the board decides we're expanding overseas. Awesome, but how do we actually do that? Well, that's your mission. You'll need to figure out all the financial logistics, manage the currency risks, and make sure that huge project stays on track and, more importantly, on budget. Mission 3 is all about managing performance and costs. So picture this. We just bought another company, their staff isn't very motivated, and their costs are, well, they're all over the place. You'd have to dive right in, analyze their whole operation, and come up with strategies to boost performance while wrangling those costs back under control. And then there's measuring performance. This takes us right back to that table of numbers we looked at a few minutes ago. You're going to be the one calculating and, more importantly, interpreting those ratios. Your job is to tell the story that the numbers are hiding. Explaining why our return is so high but our growth is so low, and what that actually means for our strategy going forward. And finally, managing stakeholders. Hey, it's not all about spreadsheets, right? What happens when the buying team scoops up a bunch of PCs they swear are like new, but the inventory team grades them as much lower quality? That creates a huge internal conflict. You'll need to be the mediator, find a workable solution, and make sure our internal processes are running smoothly. So we're going to leave you with this final challenge. It's probably one of the biggest threats we talked about. With the major manufacturers now jumping into the resale market themselves, our whole business model is at risk. So, as Resett's new financial manager, what's your first move? Welcome to the team.